The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
These guys aren't playing around. It's time to put the books away and get in the room. It's time for Wrestling Recess. Now your hosts, Dyson Gould and Dom Deputy. PA Power Wrestling. Pennsylvania is wrestling.
What's up, guys? I'm back for another episode of PA Power Wrestling Recess. Today, my guest will be two-time PIAA state champion, Ryan Crookham. So, Ryan, how's it been going?
It's been going good. Just lifting, there's not really much to do. But, yeah, I've been good.
So, I want to get on to, the main topic going around now, which you obviously know, COVID-19. How do you feel about all these big wrestling events being canceled?
I think this is a great opportunity for a lot of guys to, really think about their wrestling and improving, technique-wise and just getting big. And it's, when one door closes, another door opens. So I think you got to really focus on all the opportunities you do have. We can't compete, but we can train, and we can prepare for those competitions. They might be as far as I'm thinking around July, maybe. I'm not really sure how long this is going to last, but I'm just thankful for, all the opportunities to train. And then, I could spend more time with my family, so.
What have you been doing to improve during this time off?
So I started a new, lifting schedule. So I'm lifting 4 times a week, upper, lower, and then I'm doing upper speed and lower speed. And then on Saturdays, I usually do, some shadow wrestling. I'll drill with some of my family members if they let me. And I'll also do a circuit workout. So, I'm just using, this time off, using it to my advantage. So
I want to get back right to your youth career. How did you get into the sport?
I'm not sure if it was 4 or 5 years old, but I was living in Bucks County, in the Chamonix School District, and my dad wrestled, and he basically one day kind of just brought me on the scale, and then it was just decided that we were going to wrestle. It wasn't really it kind of was just always. It felt like it was always going to happen. I don't know. It just, I think I was more born into this sport. So this sport was, I was always going to do it no matter what.
Were you any good when you started, or did it take a lot of time?
I think I wasn't very good when I started. I didn't really take the sport very seriously. I'm not sure how bad, but, I've heard some stories, where there's been dual meets going on, and I'm off to the side of the mat, not even warming up. I don't even know. I wasn't too good when I started. But I think around age 7 or 8, that's when I started really focusing on wrestling and the sport. And that's when I started getting pretty good. So when I was 7, I made the blood round at States, and I ended up getting pinned. And then when I was 8, I came back, and I wrestled. I think I won areas, and then at States I wrestled some pretty tough guys. Some guys, their names are still around even today. In the semis, I wrestled Finn Solomon. I think I ended up pinning him in first period or something it was. And then the finals, I ended up wrestling Curtis Phipps. So, I think around 7 or 8 is when I started taking the sport pretty seriously.
Did you play any other sports?
I played, I think around 5 or 6 different sports growing up. I wasn't really focused on one sport until I got really serious around the age of, I'm not really sure, but when I was growing up, the first sport I did was wrestling. Then I added in some other sports like soccer. That didn't last very long. I wasn't terrible, but I wasn't that good either. I played baseball. I was pretty good at that. And then I played that for 3 years or something it was. And then I did cross country. I'd take a year off. I'd do a year. It kind of was like this inconsistent thing. But the one sport that really helped me, I think, was gymnastics. So I was in, I think, maybe 4th or 5th grade, and I was doing gymnastics workouts in the mornings before school. And it got me flexible, and it got me strong. Surprisingly. So I think that's helped me, moving forward in the sport. I feel like a lot of my flexibility comes from those years of gymnastics. So,
what club did you grow up going to, or did you not go to a club at all?
The first serious club I started going to was Weaver Elite. They had tons of tough guys in the room. And I had, a lot of friends going there. It's in the Lehigh Valley. It's a pretty good spot for wrestling. So that was a spot where I trained for a lot of my years. And then I ended up moving there. So I started training at Weaver Elite, and that was the first club I started training at.
Who were your partners there?
My first main partner was probably Evan Mag. He's on the Notre Dame lineup this year as well. So a lot of the guys I've trained with through the years, they're still wrestling even today. And it's just really awesome to see all those guys, do well in high school.
How much practice did you do at Weaver Lee and just anywhere else a week as a kid?
Weaver Elite. So when I had to drive up 2 hours, so I grew up in the Chamonix School District, and then I think 6th or 7th grade, I moved to Lehigh Valley, Saukon Valley School District, and so before the move, I was going there 2 or 3 days a week, and then after the move, I was going there as much as 5 times a week. So that's kind of how it changed from moving from the Chamonix to the Lehigh Valley.
Were your parents a big part in getting you to practice and things along that line?
Yeah, they were huge help, and if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't be as good as I am today. So yeah, I mean, I couldn't drive. I just started driving, so they were always bringing me, carpooling with other parents. A lot of people helping me out get to practice.
Did you wrestle freestyle or Greco as a kid?
I think I started wrestling freestyle and Greco when I was, I think, like 5th grade. So not when I was like super young, but not too late either. How
do they contribute to like your folk style wrestling?
It gives you almost like a break or like a refreshment of, of different wrestling, a different way to, control your body, how you're wrestling. I think it's good for, it's a different way to look at the sport. So I think it helps your overall wrestling, knowledge and feel on the mat, because you can be in a scramble and you'll get exposed and they'll get 2 for a move they weren't even hitting. You'll be in on the shot and they'll get the points. So it teaches you a lot of different positional things, and I think it helped me a great amount. Greco, it's more hand fighting, and they help in different areas.
I know when I first started freestyle, I was like totally against it and everything. Were you the same way, or did you like it right off the bat?
When I first started freestyle, I wasn't really too much against it. It was just all new to me. But, I think a lot of the guys I was wrestling, it was new to them as well. So I was hitting a lot of different folk style moves. I'd be on top and I'd be hitting tilts and running bars. And then the guys on bottom are like, he's got the same hold. He's getting 2 over and over. So they were just as confused as me. But I liked, the aspect of you can go to a PA qualifier and they don't really take it too seriously, but you're wrestling some like state champ, states, so I honestly liked freestyle from the beginning.
And can you talk a little bit about your success early on? I know you've won a state title or two or something like that. And
when I was 8, that's when I won my first state title. So I don't know. I guess just that year I had a different mindset going in. I think honestly how it went was in the semis. I was wrestling Finn Solomon, and we were wrestling, and he shot him on a double, and I think I chin whipped him to his back and stuck him in like a minute. But that was a huge turning point for me, and I think it kind of changed. That was like a turning point in my career. So I really thought I could win the state title after that, and I ended up winning. So there was a bunch of different turning points early on in my career, but once I made the decision that I didn't want to lose, and I didn't think anyone could beat me, no matter who they are, what weight class, how old they are. When I made that decision, that's when I got really good.
Did you ever get nervous? Like, I know whenever I was in the PJW state finals, so running out for the Parade of Champions with the light on you, I was like, it was so I got so nervous and everything.
Yeah, definitely. As a kid, I was way more nervous than I am now. I think you kind of grow and you develop, and you just get used to high pressure situations, and you kind of just learn to love those situations, and that's what wrestling's about. Those high pressure situations, those tough matches, because if you want to succeed at the highest level, you got to be cool under pressure. So I think it was just your first time maybe in a situation like that, but you'll grow to be more used to it.
What is something you wish you would have done differently as a kid?
As a kid, trying to think, definitely put less pressure on myself. I think that was the number one thing. I didn't really cut weight, which was good. I was usually the one bumping up weight classes, wrestling two different divisions. So I just say don't put too much pressure on yourself. Wrestling doesn't really mean a whole lot, and your best days are ahead of you for sure. The best guy in middle school, and elementary is never the best guy in high school. So high school and college, even high school wrestlers, they go to college and they're not as good sometimes. So it's just about not putting pressure on yourself, and, really instead of focusing on an event coming up, I'd focus more on the practice and every day having a schedule and goals, daily goals of how you want to improve. If you want to get stronger, do you want to get stronger in your arms or your legs, and then, just different stuff like that.
At Super 32, you chose to wrestle the high school division as an 8th grader, correct?
Yes.
Why? What went into that?
So going into my 8th grade year, I don't know. I won 3 Super 32 titles 3 years in a row. And then I was an 8th grader, and no one had ever won Super 32 as an 8th grader. So I was like, I might as well try this. And, I was talking about turning points in someone's career. Going into that tournament, I didn't really have a whole lot of confidence, but I didn't really want to get beat either. So it was a weird situation. So each match I won, I was getting more confident. And then at a certain point, I'm like, all right, no one's beating me. So that was probably the biggest turning point in my career ever. As the tournament went on, I got more confident with each match. So it was just a really cool thing to do, to just test your limits. You don't really know how good you are until you test your limits. So I'm glad I did it. And the next step for me would be to do some college opens and test myself that way.
So it's kind of like that Jaden Cox attitude of I could keep winning titles at this age or weight, or I could bump up and prove I'm the best.
Exactly.
So on to Notre Dame. Who's your main practice partner right now?
I'd say my main practice partner is probably Holden Garcia, 138-pounder this year.
What kind of relationships do you have with your teammates and coaches?
We've got a strong relationship with a lot of the guys. There's not really anyone, we leave out. We're a family, Coach calls it a platoon at Notre Dame. We're a family, but we go to war together, in matches. So we got each other's backs. It's just a unique thing we got going on at Notre Dame. Special.
In 2011, you fell to Bo Bayless. I think it was in 2011. You fell to Bo Bayless in the state finals. But your freshman year, you beat him in the state finals. So was that loss in 2011 in your head at all, or did you forget about that?
It was in my head a little bit, but it not really in the state final. Well, that's an interesting question because I wrestled Bo Bayless earlier in the year, and I was definitely thinking about it. But then you get in the state finals with a guy who beat you, I think it was 8 years earlier. So that thought did kind of come in my mind, but we were two totally different wrestlers, from 2011 to 2019. I wasn't really thinking about that. I was more thinking about I was pretty nervous for that match, I'm not going to lie. That's an interesting comparison, though. Now,
after winning that state title and then going into this year's state tournament as the returning state champ, was there any pressure on you as I need to win this because I'm the returning champ?
No, there wasn't any pressure at all. I was just going out there to, have fun. And I just kept telling myself this is another tournament. If you look at Notre Dame's schedule, that's another thing, we have that's different. Is we go to the Ironman, we go to the Beast, we go to Trojan Wars, we go to Escape the Rock. We have duels with Bethlehem Catholic. We have duels with, all these tough teams. So when you go into a state tournament where it's not even all the states guys, it's only about half. So it's not as big. So I'm just telling myself this is another tournament. Don't make it bigger than it is. Although, obviously I wanted to win. So how
does it feel to ultimately be the two-time state champion, be on the way to winning 4?
Feels good. It feels good for sure. But to do that and, fulfill my goals, for the state, be a 4-time state champ, I'm setting my goals higher, I'm raising the bar, and I'm not really focused on being a 4-time state champ at all. My goal for this summer was to win a junior world title, but I'm not sure if I'm going to have that opportunity. So I'm just taking it day by day and trying and just focusing on, world titles instead of state titles.
Now, I just have couple random questions for you. What was your favorite college growing up?
My favorite college growing up was always Cornell. My favorite wrestler was Kyle Dake, so just seeing him win 4 national titles, it was really special. I know there was, some contrasting things when you got a guy in your state, David Taylor from Penn State, but I like Kyle Dake from Cornell. So a lot of the guys around me were always rooting for, Taylor to beat Dake, but I don't know. I always liked Cornell University and Kyle Dake growing up.
I like Cornell too. That's one of the top 3 on my list that I want to go to. Princeton, Cornell, and Lehigh. One of those 3, hopefully.
Good academics. Good wrestling.
So you said Kyle Dake was your favorite wrestler growing up?
Yes.
Was there anything you liked about his style, or you just liked how he
he just never gave up, I was talking about at Super 32, you never want to lose. I just always saw that in him. It didn't matter who it was, how old they were, what they weighed. Kyle Dake was always the guy where, he's a true freshman. He didn't care what weight class it was. So right from the beginning, he was winning national titles. And I wanted to be like him as a, 9, 10-year-old. I'm like looking up to this guy. So, and I'm looking at the college he's going into, and I'm like, I want to go there and I want to be just like him. I want to win four national titles. So he was like a superstar celebrity to me.
What advice would you give a wrestler who's just starting?
Don't cut any weight. Well, they gotta love the sport, first of all. So in the beginning, I'd say don't cut any weight. That takes the fun out of the sport. Just go to different tournaments, wrestle, have fun. Who cares if you lose? You'll develop the will to win and the work ethic, moving forward. But I think at an earlier age, all those hours and winning and losing, it doesn't mean as much. It's just about development and having fun.
What advice would you give parents struggling to get their kids to fall in love with the sport?
You can't force them to love the sport. It has to come from them. So I think for me, I really started loving the sport when I became more independent with my training and just overall performance and everything. When my parents put more responsibility on me, in my wrestling, that's when I feel like I made the biggest jumps and I had the most fun with it. So I think they should let their kids, decide for themselves how good they want to be. But I know it's tough because, you want to do anything for your kids. So
now you've mentioned for like wrestlers just starting and everything, don't make them cut weight. Can you talk a little bit about why you think that and everything?
So I think just younger kids, they shouldn't have to go through, the pain of cutting weight. Plus it might stunt their growth. It's just, I think it just takes the fun out of the sport. Even for me, but I didn't really cut weight this year. I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's good at any age, but especially for younger kids, I wouldn't cut weight because what are you cutting weight for? You're cutting weight to win like a state title at like 7 or 8. It doesn't really mean too much. Like no matter how big the title is, even if it's like Tulsa, when you're like 30, 40, are they really going to look back and say, oh, you won that Tulsa title when you were like 8 or 9? It's not really that big of a deal. When you get into like high school and college, I feel like more college, that's when it becomes a big deal. And maybe if you want to cut weight, all right, your decision.
Well, Ryan, that's all I got for you today. I hope I had a blast, and I hope you did too. Hopefully you can come again with me sometime.
All right. Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.